Thank you for staying with this session. This looks really interesting, AI and data analytics. And we heard in the earlier session, I thought that was a great phrase, from find and cure, moving now to predict and prevent. And you can't predict and prevent if you don't have the data and the AI. So we're going to hear all about that now with HBI's Rachel Lewis chairing this session. Over to you, Rachel.
Oh, is my mic on? Yeah, thanks, Sue. Martin, please come on stage with me. Hopefully, we will begin to pick up a few more people who are still having the dregs of their coffee and networking. Like Sue said, my name's Rachel. I'm the deputy editor here at HBI. I focus a lot on digital transformation, telehealth, AI tools, and how that's being used across healthcare systems. This is part of the digital transformation program today. It's the first of 2 sessions. This one is focusing on healthcare systems. I'm going to try to avoid too much overlap because we have a session later today about patient outcomes and AI. But this is kind of really designed, like I said, to think about healthcare systems, looking at hospital management, workflow, integrated care, and how we can use large data sets at that level. Can you pull the speakers up on the screen, please? Thank you. So we've got two remote speakers today and one here in person. So on the left of the screen, we have Daniel Oman, who's the CEO of GHP, which runs specialty clinics in the Nordics and hospitals in the UAE and Kuwait. It's the largest provider supporting Swedish health insurance and offers a capitation payment model to payers across its markets, which gives Daniel a really good understanding of how to work with large data sets. And on the right of my screen, we have Jan Bega, who was meant to be here in person but had a delayed flight this morning. And he's Senior Director of GE Healthcare's digital ecosystem and the head of Edison in the EMEA region. Edison is an intelligence platform that helps to generate clinical, operational, and financial insights. And on the stage with me, I have Martin Brunninger, who's a Director General of Austria's social security system, where he oversees a large part of the healthcare. His focus is on digitalization, healthcare strategy, drug reimbursement, and complex managed care programs. So thank you all for joining me today. I have a little confession. AI is a bit of a buzzword that we use to draw you in, but we're kind of very aware that that's not always how it works in practice. But I know we've got a few skeptics on the stage. Daniel, if you want to perhaps start and talk about, are you actually using AI in healthcare systems today? And if not, what are you looking at when it comes to data analysis?
Oh, thank you. Sorry I couldn't be there today. But I look forward to this conversation. No, we're not using AI. I'm trying not to use that word. I think it's a very broad word, which encompasses a lot of different things for different people. So what we're doing is that we work with capitation models and to create an integrated care system for the Swedish insurance companies. There we work with capitation, so that means we really need to look out for the population the best way we can, building ever smarter care chains, making sure the patients end up in the most optimal care chain that we can have. And for that, we use a lot of data and data analytics. And that's what we've been building over the last 5 years. That competence to combine data analytics with the medical knowledge of our organization to always improve, not only internal efficiency, which we all have done for a long time, being faster in the OR and so on, but to really improve making sure that you as a patient get the best care chain you can, and the best using also being able to use new technologies. If you want to do that, you really have to also look at how can we improve the care chain for the patient? How does that interact with the rest of the care chain and the rest of the system? And that's why I think it's very important to work with both capitation models and to work with data and data analytics. But we're not using AI yet. The data, we have too little data and it's not detailed enough, even if we have millions of different care events in our data layers.
Thanks, Dan. And you said you've been building this system for 5 years. So can you give us a kind of brief update of what data analytics you've been able to achieve and where that is, driving insights into different healthcare systems that you operate in?
Yeah, so what we do this is especially in Sweden, and what we have been able to do is that when you seek care within the insurance companies which we work for, we will take the anamnesis digitally. About 50% we managed to get to take the digital entrance. There we get the complete data from their medical background and the history of that and the patient's data. Then we have included that with all different patient record systems that you will encounter during your care pathways, which can be at different providers, of course, or both from my network and external networks. And we also combine that with the outcome data of all patients who answer the questionnaires, of course, but most do. So by doing that, we have hundreds of thousands of care pathways that's been taking place within our system, consisting of a couple of millions of events. Using that data, we can look at, okay, a patient with this type of back pain, for example, we can see that they will need a doctor instantly. There is a high risk for surgery, that this patient needs surgery. So let's make sure that we build the algorithms so we send that patient directly to a surgeon or a spine surgeon. Another type of patients with another type of back pain, we can say this will probably be able to treat digitally, sending a care program home to the patient or digitally home to the patient, so to speak, using their app. So then we build an algorithm for that. Another type of back pain, we say, okay, this patient will need an MRI. So let's start with an MRI, because before we have the MRI, we cannot decide what to do with the patients. So we put a lot of effort into building the data layer, combining all the data sources, and also then using that knowledge and analytics, working together with our doctors to make sure that we have buy-in and do the right things. And then we put a lot of effort into the first step of the care chain, making sure that you end up on the right care pathways, the first thing.
Thanks, Daniel. Jan, I'd like to bring you in here. Are you using AI in GE Healthcare?
Hey everyone, Rachel Martin. First of all, sorry for not being with you today. Cross-border air travel nowadays is you need to expect the unexpected. So sorry for this. Look, what I would like to do is just to say a couple of words about healthcare overall, and I believe you all agree to what I'm going to say. But back to you, Daniel. Just I'm going to use the term AI. Just due to the fact that I think it's still early days. I think there's a lot of education still required, and therefore a broad term such as AI is often helpful to just educate and tell people about the technology overall. So look, I mean, we all know that this kind of technology or kind of set of technologies, artificial intelligence, has already achieved widespread adoption in certain sectors. But the complexities of healthcare have resulted really in slower adoption. And look, headlines suggest that AI has already surpassed the performance of human doctors in many medical fields. But maybe, at least for me, this is the first panel on AI in healthcare without the question of when AI will replace human doctors arising. The clinical reality is quite different, actually. There are only a limited number of AI tools available in clinical setting. And look, I'm not aware of a single AI in healthcare tool appearing in clinical guidelines as standard of care. And a few numbers, if you want to highlight what we have to deal with and where the challenges lie, and why we need those kind of artificial intelligence, analytics, however you want to call it, type of technologies. Look, today, I think in healthcare, it just takes 73 days to double medical data. 73 days. This is like, I think, early December. There are 6,000 medical journals publishing over 900,000 articles a year. There is more information in a mammogram than there is information in the telephone book of New York. And then when we look, for example, to the domain of medical imaging, the radiologist, right, in a 12-hour shift is looking at about 50,000 images, right? And 15 years ago, it was just 500. So there's a lot of data coming into that space. And this is just one reason beside many others, like medical errors, like shortage of healthcare professionals, why we need those kind of technologies, and we need it as quickly as possible. And Rachel, coming back to your question, yes, we use AI in a variety of different forms in our solutions and products.
And can you give some examples of where that is operational today in healthcare systems?
Yeah. Look, let me probably pick just one example, which I would like to call no-show. Right. This is something about patients not showing up for their appointments. And let me go really into this example, focusing on the radiology domain, which is a very necessary but also a very expensive piece of the healthcare puzzle. So the question here is what happens when a patient does not show up for a high-cost exam like MRI or a mammogram? And a study from 2018 found that uncaptured revenue for the most common imaging exams was about $700,000 per year at an average sized hospital. And a scheduled examination without the patient means a lot of things, like delay to diagnosis, idle staff, underutilized equipment, a missed opportunity. And I think fully understanding how to best manage exam scheduling in an imaging department or a practice is considerable given the wide range of factors contributing to patients missing appointments. And I think this is just a good use case for AI or predictive technologies, because by utilizing machine learning models, leveraging, as I said, a wide range of factors, both internal and external of the imaging practice, to really change the paradigm of scheduling workflows to enable better patient care. And what we do here is we use automated data aggregation that helps predict a patient's tendency to adhere to a particular exam appointment based on historical information and localized patterns up to 5 days in advance. And the user gets like a probability score for each prediction, which allow the scheduler to improve patient follow-up to help reduce those no-shows.
And it works, does it? I mean, what are the statistics on reducing no-shows?
I mean, I don't have specific statistics with me, but we have it running in a variety of health systems or health institutions, and it impacts, right, the scheduling. As I said, it really impacts delay to diagnosis, improvement of equipment utilization and staff, and so on and so forth.
Okay, thanks. Martin, this is a good chance to bring you in. Austria, we've just been talking about large data sets. I know you've built up kind of a huge medical record system in Austria. Why don't you talk about how you're using that and your data analysis within the system?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So AI is used in two ways in Austria, and one is still at the beginning, and where we use it is to manage our insured. So we have 8.5 million insured, and there's only one statutory insurance body in Austria. So operationally, for how to better manage claims data, how to better manage billing data, etc. So their AI is already in great use. Where we haven't started using AI is really in optimizing our processes, patient journeys, efficiency, and as a further step, as we heard already today, how to measure effectiveness. Their AI hasn't really been used, and the question always is for policymaker and a statutory payer is obviously we have always to have a legal foundation to be able to use what we are doing. We have, as you said, we have a uniform electronic health record for all our insured, for all our 8.5 million insured. We have e-prescription, and we have e-billing for the doctors' outpatient services, and we have an e-vaccination record in Austria. So we have a huge digital platform, and we have an awful lot of data. And the advantage that we have is there's not data islands, not as many as you have in other big jurisdictions. There's one big data platform of all our 8.5 million insured. What we haven't done yet, we haven't really used that data platform to gain more efficiency. The beneficiary, in our view, should be really the healthcare provider in getting a better diagnosis done. But we're really at the very beginning, and what we have to really battle with is data protectionists. That's a key debate at the moment in Austria. How can we use the data to really, or how can we utilize the data to introduce a higher efficiency rate? So that's one of the key hurdles that we have when it comes to patient data. Again, coming back to claims data, billing data, optimizing that, their AI is already used. That's our biggest hurdle that we see at the moment. And I think that's true for most countries.
And so if we're thinking about healthcare systems instead of patient outcomes, because the data is less personal, like you said, billing, claims, do you think that's where we are seeing the most adoption of AI at the moment to better drive the efficiencies in the back end of the system?
That's fairly easy because managing claims data and billing data, this is all managed by office workers and by our administrative system. When it comes to AI in clinical practice, you have to convince the healthcare providers, the physicians, and the hospitals to use those systems, and that's a bigger challenge. What we have to convince the doctors is that they're saving time and they gain more by using these electronic health systems. We haven't, unfortunately, I think that's true for all of the jurisdictions that we look at. We haven't really managed to save time for the doctors when they see patients, and that's the biggest pushback that we have. So my call to all innovators would be if you could come up with technology that really makes it easy for doctors to log data. Again, we are trying to introduce diagnostic coding in Austria to make that mandatory for doctors. There's a huge pushback because what they are obviously afraid of is, and really almost frightened, that it takes a lot of time away from their time with the patient if they have to log those diagnostic data by coding them. So technology really could help to employ that. Once we have diagnostic coding in our electronic systems, it's obviously easier to use AI efficiently to understand better what patients need and what care they need, because everybody knows, I'm sure, is that the most avoidable costs, the biggest avoidable costs is double diagnosis, double doctor visits, and sometimes obviously also wrong diagnosis and wrong recommendations. With all of these problems, AI can help, but we need to cross first, I think, the hurdle that the doctors save time by logging the data. That's the key thing.
Okay. I'd like to open the floor to any questions. Anybody? Can't see over there. Somebody must have one. Come on, everybody loves to talk about AI. Here we go. At the front, please. On the front row.
Hello, I'm Leandro Cutilli from CDC. I'm interested in AI in the context of radiology, which was mentioned. So when you look at the next 2-3 years, what do you expect? What are the big advances that you see or the transformations that we could see in radiology?
Jan, perhaps you can best answer that.
Yes, I mean, look, that's a great question. Thank you very much for this. I mean, first of all, it is, as I said earlier, it is early days in AI in healthcare overall, but also in radiology. Even if radiology as a domain is probably at the forefront of this technology innovation, right, due to the fact that it's pretty simple to get to AI, or let me call it computer vision in radiology, because we have like images and some sort of a structured report attached to it. So therefore it's relatively easy to get there. But look, coming back to your question, I think, first of all, we don't see yet a lot of, let's say, AI solutions in the radiology department in clinical day-to-day usage. I think there are the number I read recently was 170 different AI apps that have been CE marked or FDA approved that are available for, let's say, commercially, that are available for clinical usage. But the adoption is relatively low today. I think the majority of AI algorithm used in clinical setting in radiology today are actually ones that have been built in-house by those institutions. But looking a little bit to the future, I would say, and I actually believe that radiologists will be, and not just radiologists, also radiographers and technologists will be incredibly well served by AI within the next decade. I think really the threat is not that like radiologists or healthcare professionals will be replaced. I think AI could drive the demand for radiological services up dramatically. And AI use cases will evolve in the next couple of years from screening and detection, quantification, and triaging to prognosis and treatment pathway decision. And from like disease or pathology specific solutions to more like to body area solutions or multi-organ solutions with radiomics capability. And look, when AI is more widely adopted, right, we all have this in mind. Radiologists should hopefully have more time integrating patients' clinical and imaging information, having more professional interactions, becoming more visible to patients, and playing a more vital role in integrated clinical teams to improve care. And what I always talk about in radiology is, I mean, most probably AI becomes really a normal tool, right? And to what Daniel, what you said earlier on, we don't talk about this term even anymore because it's just a piece of technology that becomes a routine component of clinical practice and making radiologists' work more satisfying and valued, making radiologists actually more productive, more quantitative as well, and more precise. So that's like my 2 cents to this.
And what's your outlook on payment models for AI over the next 2-3 years? Because I think that's a huge barrier to adoption. Unlike telehealth, and telemonitoring tools, we don't really have payers yet with developed payment models for these kinds of solutions.
Yeah, Rachel, that's a great question. Look, maybe let me do a step back here first of all. What we see in the radiology space is, I mean, a lot of vendors are coming, let's say, popping up and developing solutions and really working out different use cases, developing new algorithms, and making sure that those solutions are safe and effective. And what healthcare institutions that would like to leverage those kind of new technologies, they need to also make sure that it's safe, that it's effective, and they need to decide whether a specific AI product is right for their organization or not. And this is actually not easy. And I mean, in the UK, a helpful resource here is the NHSX Buyer's Guide to AI in Health and Care. And in there, it's also mentioned that you should start really with asking yourself what problem or use case you're trying to solve. And look, once you have identified the problem, then there are a couple more questions you have to clarify, of course. What is the targeted user? What are the benefits and risks? What about performance and validation and so on and so forth? Will it work like this? I think, right, before we talk about payment models, one thing is very important, like the foundation: clinical relevancy, clinical validation, workflow integration should be key considerations for providers. But then, of course, also return of investment. And in order for large health systems to adopt AI at scale, the technology will need to show a clear ROI, both financially and through improved quality of care. And look to with regards to the payment model, I would say what clinicians or, I don't know, department heads, cardiologists, radiologists, what they care about is at the end is, from my perspective, what are digital apps which ones can I get that help me to improve my clinical, operational, and financial outcomes? And then on the other hand side, you have like the IT teams that within healthcare provider institutions that see value in able to implement those apps quickly and easily into their environments. So a big question, right, beside payment model is also how quickly can I implement them, and how easy can I also scale them? So I mean, pricing models or payment models, I think that's something that has evolved over the last couple of years. Initially, right, the market started with like pay-per exam or pay-per analysis models. This evolved to subscription models. But what we now see is a trend and actually evolving end user demand for solutions that drive increased value. Value other than just accuracy and efficiency, which creates really new engagement in pricing models that focus on long-term value creation. Rachel. Yeah.
Okay, Daniel, I'd like to bring you in here because I know you've thought a lot about payment models and the efficiencies that you help to drive, and you really feel that as someone helping that problem that you should take a chunk of the savings. Is that right?
That's one way of putting it, but I think most of all, it's all payment models have their pros and cons, and I think that as a payer, what you really need to think about is what do you want to achieve, and then you need to set the payment models so that you achieve that, and then you constantly evolve the payment models. I think that's a very important part, that payers need to be much more active in what behavior they want to see. And if they want to see, for example, adoption of AI or digital tools or whatever, they need to make sure that the providers can invest in that. So for us, in order to be able to invest, for example, our journey started with us, basically we developed an app for physiotherapy so that the patients were supposed to be able to work out more for themselves and come in less to the clinics. So I would save a lot of money for the payers. But what happened was that obviously we got less visits per patient, so we had less income and we had new costs for that IT solution. And that's not a feasible structure, even if you saved a lot of money for the system. In order to really invest in new ways of working, whether with machine learning or AI or algorithms or whatever, you need to have payment models which support that so that the providers can invest. And then you need also to pressure the providers. I think that's also a very important part. What we had to do in order to achieve this was that we told the insurance companies that if you want to do this together with us, we promise to save you X% of your costs. And of course, that was a big leap of faith for us. We just knew that this can be done so much better if we move into a capitation model. So we just promised a big saving for the insurance company and hoped we could deliver on it, or we promised to deliver on it. But I hope to also be able to do it with our profits intact. So I think...
What percentage savings are you seeing, Daniel, since you mentioned them?
More than 15%. But that's also a constant evolvement. So what you could say is that since the DRG system in the 80s, we always become more efficient, internally. So we do more procedures per operating theaters, we do more visits per doctor and so on. And different new tools can help us in that. But the external efficiency, doing the right things, that we've done way too little work with, and we have very fragmented systems. So it's more easy to make big gains there than in the internal efficiency. And that's why I think that most systems need to move into focus on doing the right thing and external efficiency. Then over time, we might lose a little bit of the internal efficiency. So then I think the providers and the payers need to be constantly aware of, here are a possibility to improve. Let's discuss how we can make it possible to enable that improvement. And I think the payment systems are way too rigid and they are afraid of upsetting things. I think that always improve, always try to improve. And you need to do that together, provider and payer. And you need to enable the providers to invest. And then you need to force the providers also to provide you with the right data so that you can work, for example, with with the diagnose coding. I agree that's extremely important. What we work with is we start every call with the patient. We set a working diagnosis. Then we compare it to what diagnosis did the patient get in the end, and we compare so we can always be more precise and get better in the beginning. And over time, I think we'll, for example, use machine learning on the data sets and so on. So we will move in this direction, but there's so much we can do also just with working with data analytics.
Okay, Martin, you admitted yourself that you're yet to embark on seeing the efficiencies. So if we are looking at payment models and, there's all kind of vendors on the market who might be able to help you with that, what kind of payment model would you be looking to deploy there?
For sure, there's lots of technology that can help us to manage costs. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think we have to always, this is my job, to look at the healthcare budget. Of course, healthcare budgets grow in Middle Europe. They grow around the GDP growth rates. Being bold, I think there's probably enough money that needs to be spent on healthcare. Of course, there's new additive technology that comes on stream. However, no one really knows the number, but I think it's probably more than a quarter of costs that are not going anywhere, spent on healthcare, and redistributing that money. And the healthcare budget probably remains always very similar. So it remains always the same, if you let alone out-of-pocket payments and private insurances. But on a public system, the budget stays relatively constant. Taking money out of inefficiencies and redistributing it for new services, for new technologies, that's really the trick, and I think that's where AI can help. And that's also where we would like to think of reimbursement. The world has already been quite advanced in terms of analyzing drugs, efficiencies of drugs, medical devices, if they're therapeutic. We are very much at the beginning when it comes to e-health applications. They're all very plausible, they all make sense on paper, and I'm sure they are helpful. But in order to reimburse these e-health applications and AI-assisted technologies, we need to see the evidence where it saves us costs in the system. Once this evidence is created, I think then we can talk about reimbursement. It's much easier otherwise. And the second big point in this equation is we have all the technologies, the technology developers and the government, the healthcare, the payers have to convince physicians to adopt these systems. That's, I think, the two key points how I see AI being more adopted in today's clinical practice and in the way how we deal with patients.
Okay, is there any more questions from the floor? Oh, we've got a couple in the middle. You've got a microphone already, go on.
I don't know, it's functioning.
Yeah.
It's functioning. It's a very exceptional discussion that somebody from the state side or public side and business people and experts who are thinking about AI. And I'm from Prague, small country, Czech Republic, near Austria, very similar behavior, and so I think here is the big ethic problem and I would like ask, how do you see it? Ethic problem because you say from the screens that it will be much more efficient, 100%. Yeah, it will create bigger, better results and better care for everybody. And what say the state? We have this budget, yeah, and maybe if the healthcare will be more efficient, not because the money, but because of better health of the people, yeah, maybe we spend more money from the budget. Because we did with Prague Technical University just 2 years ago a study with about 3,000 diabetic patients and tried to do exact treatment, exact visits with the physicians and so and so. And at the end, a general insurance company in Czech Republic said, we spent more money with this. Yeah, it means what is this efficiency?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the efficiency of the budget, and it is the efficiency of the health of the people. Yeah, it means, I think if you could comment this, thinking about. Thank you.
Yeah, Martin, do you anticipate having to spend more money because of AI in the healthcare budget?
Well, hopefully not, and I think there will be resistance of payers all over the world, not just Austria or Czech Republic, because there's not more money there in the public system, and I think there's no political will that would increase taxes because of it, to increase social insurance contributions. There will always be a strong resistance to do that. So the other, obviously, option that we have to push it more to private healthcare. That's also not what European jurisdictions want. So I think we have to work together to really take costs out of the system where it doesn't arrive at the patient benefit. And there's lots of these costs, so there's lots of work to do to find those costs. Maybe it was a bold statement, but I think the budget that we have today is probably at the moment is enough once we manage it better together. That's the key thing. And what this gentleman said, of course, this is a wish for every government to spend more time and money and resources in prevention than in therapy. But at the moment, we have to deal with the therapy. Prevention is, we found, especially in Middle Europe, is one of the critical points is health literacy of the population, which we found, especially in our country, is very low relative to the educational level that we have, and there's a correlation of increasing health literacy for a better prevention. There's evidence for that, and we have to work as governments to get this up. Then prevention will be a better way, obviously, in dealing with healthcare costs.
Thanks. I am going to go, sorry, forgive me, back to questions, because I know we had a couple more, and we've got 10 minutes left, so I want to make sure we get through them. Oh, I don't think the microphone's on.
Hello?
Try again, there we go.
So in April of this year...
Sorry, can you just introduce yourself quickly?
Sorry, my name is Mark Bonner, and I work for the Institute of Eye Surgery in Ireland. We're a large network of eye clinics working in the ophthalmic space. Now my question is, so in April of this year, the EU Commission adopted a proposal for the regulation of AI. And this is likely to impose significant obligations on companies across all sectors, including healthcare, in relation to how they actually employ AI. I was just wondering how you think this might play out. And, in relation to kind of governmental regulation of AI, do you see this as a positive development, or do you see it more of a hindrance?
Yeah, I think this is a great thing, and this is probably not what you anticipate to hear, but I think this is exactly what's missing in healthcare. If you look at the aviation industry, you look at finance, you look at all industries, transport, all is regulated, and the regulation of the infrastructure is actually, in my personal view, is an enabler for technology and for innovation to flourish. Because at the moment, in my view, the industry is losing a lot of energy in establishing infrastructure, standardization. Every model has its different standards. You have different mechanisms of action, etc. And this is very unique in healthcare. Think about aviation. How many airplanes dropped down per year? Not even one in 2019. Despite there's about 100,000 aircraft, civil aircrafts are starting and landing every day on this planet. There's about 9 billion aircraft passengers, and not a single dies from an airplane crash. The only crash that was in 2019 was on an airport because the pilot ignored some signals from the tower. So I think what I want to say with that is the regulation and innovators work together in a very efficient way to make this the safest and the biggest industry. In healthcare, we are far away from that. So I know that the first reaction is regulators always hinder innovation. But I think there's a role for everybody. There's a role for the regulator to create a platform for the innovators to get at its best. And I think this is what the good thing is about that. And we think we have to work a lot to introduce standards, to have no closed system, no information islands, because, and I'm sure that goes to many manufacturers, the big ones with scanners, everybody tries to have their own information island to log people in. Understandable for the industry. Probably I would do the same if I would be in their shoes, but it's not good for innovation, it's not good for the patients, it's not good for the systems. So standardization should be regulated, and then on top of it, we have a better innovation industry in healthcare.
Thanks, Martin. And Jan, as a supplier of these kinds of tools, what do you think of new regulations?
Yeah, look, the EU Commission's Draft AI Act is intended to create a reliable legal framework for high-risk AI systems in Europe. And I agree to Martin, it's essential to have a robust regulatory framework that provides certainty to all the actors as new technologies are being developed and introduced into the market. But I mean, there are already specific regulations in place, and those existing product-specific regulations must be taken into account, while double regulation or even contradictory requirements really must be avoided. And look, medical device manufacturers have a long-standing experience of operating in a highly regulated sector, and regulation needs to protect and allow AI for healthcare applications to be developed in Europe. And the proposed European Artificial Intelligence Act defines high-risk AI systems so broadly that almost all medical device software may be considered a high-risk AI system. And to my understanding, it currently also includes conventional data analysis software that provides statistical evaluations of the data, but not automatically additional insights based on them. And the medical device regulation, especially in combination with GDPR, already includes extensive, often more detailed sets of requirements related to various aspects of the new act. And these already existing detailed and risk-based requirements must be taken into account.
And Daniel, you said yourself you're a skeptic. You don't use AI at the moment. Will new regulation, better frameworks give you the confidence that you need?
I'm not, so I think I need to be clear about this skeptic. I mean, I believe, of course, in machine learning, deep learning, and all these technologies, especially, I mean, look at what's happening within imaging. It's just that the word is used so broadly that it's difficult to understand what people mean when they say AI. Often when you look under the hood, there's nothing really intelligent there. It's just a couple of algorithms which have been written by humans. So that's the part which I really don't like. And there's so much improvement we can do without use of machine learning or similar tools also. So that's, but I tend to agree with Martin on this. Regulation is in general good. It makes it clear and it sets standards. And if you look at GDPR, for example, at first I was worried that it will make it really difficult for us to combine our different data sources into our data layers and to really work with the data. But what's actually happened is that it became very clear for us what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do and what consent we need. So I think, for example, in what we're working with, GDPR was good for us and is good for us because it makes very clear what we're allowed to do and not to do. Then, of course, it shouldn't be too complicated, and you have to look at regulations so it doesn't just support the big companies. You have to be able to get through the regulation even if you're a small company so that we have more innovation. So that's the only word I would have about regulation and innovation.
Okay, we've got 2.5 minutes left, so I just want a quick answer from each of you. If you had to persuade a healthcare system to invest in one area of AI which you think would drive the most efficiencies, what would it be, Martin?
Well, understanding cost effectiveness for technology. So you have to introduce AI in doctors' practices. That's where all the data are produced.
Jan?
Look, I would say healthcare institutions need to focus on the foundation, right, and build, let's say, data management systems in their environments to really break down the silos that exist in healthcare today.
And Daniel, to close us off.
Thanks. No, I really believe in external efficiency. We have so fragmented systems, which everyone is working within their silos. So in order to combine data and to improve from that, for example, we've been wanting to do a large project for a long time, looking at the sick leaves after surgery. How long does the patient stay away from work? And we could do a lot to shorten those period of times, but we cannot access the data. And if we had that data and can combine it with what we do in our data lake, we could improve a lot, saving a lot of money for the system. So I really think that by combining multiple data sources, we could do much more.
Okay, and thank you all for joining me on this session today. That's been about healthcare systems. We have another one on AI and patient outcomes coming up next. I think we have a short break, but Sue will just clarify that to you. But thanks for the panel for joining us.